There we go. First, we have group 9 with PAHs in 6 to 8 with JWST. Please go ahead.
All right. Thank you. Hi, everyone. So we're talking about PAHs in NGC 628. You've seen this image a few times, but we had to show it again. Of course, you can see how the JWST mid-infrared filters show this beautiful structure across the galaxy. So as we heard from Karen's talk and kind of throughout the last week, PAHs are really important to the heating and energy balance of the ISM. They're also potential tracers for a lot of key science products that we're interested in. And their properties can influence the chemical reactions that are happening within the ISM. So their physical properties are really important to having a better picture and tracing the physics that's going on in the ISM. And luckily, the emission from different sized PAHs or different ionization states of PAHs varies in different bands. So the projects you're going to see over the next few minutes are mostly using these band ratios to trace size and emission across the NGC 628 galaxy.
Yeah, so how can we measure these emission features? So to illustrate this, I have plotted with the black line here a theoretical model for PAH emission. And the most important features, well, the brightest ones can be like JWST is perfect to observe those. So that's what I'm showing here with these filter curves. So with NIRCam, you can observe the 3.3 feature and then the surrounding stellar continuum. With MIRI, you can easily observe the 7.7 features and 7.7 feature and the 11.3 feature. And then with the remaining filters shown here, you can also measure the dust continuum a little bit. So what's shown here is the PAH features superposed on top of a dust continuum as predicted by a model by Bruce Drain's group, which we will talk a little bit about in the next slide.
And so earlier slide was showing a one specific model, and with the Drain paper, they have a suite of models where you can choose a different radiation field and adjust their strengths, and also the distribution in terms of size, grain size and ionization state. And so on the right, we're using one specific radiation field to do synthetic photometry on these predicted spectra, and you can see the different band ratios, specifically the 335 over 1130 and 770 and 1130 filter ratios can predict the different distribution or of the size, grain size, and ionization states for a given intensity. And also, and so with this project, we're using multi-wavelength data sets for this galaxy from VANES. And so we're highlighting the JWST data, of course, with the PAH features at the PAH bands, but also we have ancillary data from ALMA and MUSE, and also at very high resolution. So we can combine information from all this to compare the physical conditions in the ISM with the PAH properties.
Okay, so next, we're going to talk about some of the projects we were able to do in a very short time span. So these are definitely work in progress, but we thought we'd show you guys some of the preliminary results. So one of the things Elias and I were interested in is seeing if we could measure evidence of grain growth or grain destruction, aka where are the grain sizes changing across the whole galaxy. So assuming a constant interstellar radiation field, the ratio between the 335 and the 1130 PAH bands is supposed to be able to trace the different grain sizes of PAHs. And so using NumPy dot gradient, we were able to figure out, where is there variations in the general PAH grain sizes using this ratio. And so we find generally that PAH grain size changes happens primarily in, lower H alpha regions. And there also seems to be some sort of correlation with CO, but this is, very preliminary, very rough. but kind of exciting to see, you know, any form of trend at all, not just pure noise.
Hi, yes, me, I was interested about pH stage distribution versus the pH ionization. And I compare with the Drain 21 models. And so we can see this on the y-axis, it's a size distribution of pH. And on the x-axis, it's a ionization of pH. And we can see that pH look more ionized in small pH look more ionized in NGC 0628, and also when the intensity of ISF increase, because we have this typical trend. So yes, that's it. And we can see also in different location of the galaxy, in the center, in the spiral arm, and the inner disk. So the left side, sorry, it's in the center of NGC 0628, and yes. So, and I see we haven't got not a lot of yes trends variation yes in this different environment. So yes, that's it.
Okay, so my project focuses on the Paul fraction distribution across the galaxy. So I use a proxy for the Paul fraction in my analysis. So I use the R-Paul as a summation of the flux from filter 770 and 1130, and normalized by the dust emission at 21 micrometer. So the 770 filter is more sensitive to the ionized amount of ionized Paul fraction, and the 1130 is more sensitive to the neutral Paul fraction. And here I'm showing you the 2D histogram of the Paul fraction as a function of radius. We can see that overall on the left-hand side, on the left-hand side, we have that's the overall profile of our Paul in the galaxy. And if we select the nebula region, we see a picture like this. And we can actually bin the data according to the radius and select the medium in different bins. And we find that the R-Paul in the nebula region is smaller, is slightly smaller than the diffuse region, which is possibly due to the harder ionizing spectrum in these nebula regions. Okay.
So I also looked at the proportion of PAHs with respect to other dust particles, specifically in 3 different regions, and with as it changes with the intensity of H alpha. So in the nucleus, which button is it? Thank you. Yeah, so in the center, the nucleus, then in the arms, and then in the disk, and so these plots are very fresh. So we don't really know exactly what's going on, but some like initial interpretations of them are that we have kind of a flat proportion of PAHs in the nucleus, which could indicate that it's homogeneous and stable. And then in the arms, there's like perhaps this U shape. Which could mean that at higher H alpha there could be some destruction of PAHs, and then in the inner disk we don't really have the same tail, which could mean that at low H alpha there could be more diffuse gas, or in the absence of star formation, more gas means that we have more PAH emission.
So in my own research, I'm kind of interested in whether the properties of PAS change between molecular gas or in the absence of molecular gas. And I use these data to take a quick look if there's anything obvious. So I just split up the pixels between high alpha and high H alpha, low H alpha, high CO, and low CO. And then I have those 4 histograms. And there you can see that H alpha has some influence on this size tracer that I plotted there. But in both the high alpha case and the low the high H alpha case and the low H alpha case, I'm not seeing much difference. I did the same for charge tracer this time with some scatter plots. And again, there's some change with H alpha, but not much with CO.
Okay, lastly, just very quickly, combining the information from H alpha and CO, we can also look at the star formation efficiency. And so I'm doing this on 2 scales, on kiloparsec scale with the help with the mega table that Fane's team published, and also on kind of a 10 parsec scale with the data at hand. And so overall, the trend is that it seems that in regions with higher star formation efficiency, we have more ionized grains, maybe on both kiloparsec and the smaller scales. But in terms of the grain size, the trend there is not very clear, maybe a slight increase in a smaller grain population in high efficiency, but that could also be related to the decorrelation on smaller spatial scales. But that's all. Thank you all for listening. And also thank Jessica and Karen for their help on the project.
Some questions. Group 9. Any down there?
Did you subtract out the underlying?
Yes. Who can answer that?
So just subjectively, from what I remember, the continuum from the stellar distribution was a lot smoother, and you see kind of a denser region towards the center, versus for the 335 pi, you're seeing these kind of filamentary and bubble-like structures much more clearly. Right.
Other questions? Yep.
What did you mean by decorrelation on smaller scales?
So that's something that Melanie's lecture mentioned, and the H alpha and CO, they are decorrelated when you look at very high resolution. And yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Other questions while group 7 sort of work their way down?
How did you manage the difference in resolution you get between GWST, ALMA, and Muse?
This was mostly just rudimentary, doing a reprojection.
Did you smooth or not at all? You reprojected, yes.
Yes.
But smooth? Did you smooth the data?
Okay.
Yes.
They were pre-smoothed is the answer we just got. All right. Let's thank group 9 for an amazing project.